Hello, everyone. So, yeah, let's finish our character animation class in this last class. Okay, so we're gonna learn how to work with the studio library now. And for that, we're gonna do two things. First, we're gonna join our animation, the parkour animation first, and then the takedown animation. And second, just so you know, this is um, really hard thing to transfer your animation, to use the studio library, because we're gonna mess with the ground control. Actually, we're going to combine two different animations where the ground controller has different positions. So every time this happens, it's kind of complicated, and we're gonna learn how to deal with that. Okay, I promise you guys that if you need to transfer an animation in the future, this is going to be a way easier because you probably don't have to deal with the ground controller. Okay, so um, when we start, we need to have some files with us, and those files are uh, the parkour file, the one that we're working on, and the takedown file. Okay, so please, you can make a copy of them to a different folder, and we are going to use both of them to join our animation. Okay, so let's start this. First thing you want to do is to go to studiolibrary.com. So we're going to download the studio library, which is free to download and free to use for your use as a student. Okay, so there's different rules for different types of use, but you don't have to worry if you're a student and you're using for yourself. Okay, for assignments. So we're going to download this. Uh, it's cool if you save, if you choose a nice place to save where you can find it later. I'm gonna save on the same folder. So let me create a folder here. So studio library install files. Okay, so I will download here. It's already downloaded, and then I go to that folder. It will be a zip file. I will just extract them here. And after you extract them, you're gonna just select this install.mel file, and you can just drag this and drop in your Maya viewport. And oh, okay, sorry, you have to have your Maya open. So you're gonna just drop this file here. Okay, I'm not dropping now because I have it already installed, so I don't need to install it, but it's easy as this. Okay, uh, before you drag, actually, when you open your Maya, go to your custom shelf. Sorry for not saying that before. And then you drop your install mail file. Okay? Because if you go to your custom shelf, it will create a button in right here. Cool. In my case, I have a shelf with my name and the button is here. So you're gonna have a button like two squares, white and blue squares, and this is your studio library. Cool. So let's keep going. After you have it installed, um, just click on the studio library button and mine open. Okay, it's here. Um, you're gonna have a similar window. Probably the first time you open, it's gonna ask you for a path or for a place to have your library. Okay? If it doesn't ask, you can always come here in this menu, go to settings, and then you can change it here. Okay? In this well, select here a new place for your studio library folder. this folder will be uh, we will storage all the animations and poses you want to save for the library. Okay, and it's an actual folder in your Windows Explorer, so you're gonna see the folder there, and you can do whatever you want to this folder in a way that you can manage the subfolders inside, the animations inside. You can remove them if you don't want. You can copy the entire folder to your drive and take it to college or take to your home. Anyway, so it's easy to, as it is just a regular folder in your files, it's easy to manage or copy or send someone. You can send to a colleague an animation. Okay, and when you first open this, this is probably empty. Of course, I have some stuff here, some personal stuff, some stuff from work, but anyway, uh, you have, you probably will have it empty, and we're going to show you how to start using this. Okay, so let's open our parkour scene first before we go deeper on the studio library. So I'm going to open the scene. Go into that same folder that I was, and I'm going to open my parkour scene. So I have the scene here with me, and I have a camera for this, and I have here my perspective view. So it's the parkour scene that I worked at before. Nothing too different. Let me just check one thing. Okay, so this is the animation I have. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do here is to select all the controllers. Okay, and when I say all the controllers, this means, let me go to the first frame. I will drag here and notice that I'm selecting the ground controller as well. And then I have some changes to FK to IK. So I'm gonna move my animation to a part where I know my hands are IK. I made this change. So I know here is IK. And I moved here because I want to make sure the IK controllers are also selected. So I select here both wrists and also the elbows controllers. What I can do, so I'm sure everything is working, I will hold Control and Shift. So I make sure that I will select everything on top. So I'm only adding more selections and I can just drag again. Okay, so now all my controllers are selected. Even if it changed from FK to IK or back to FK, the controllers, even if I don't see them, they are still selected. Okay, and then um, I'm gonna go to my studio library and we're gonna save our first animation to the library. Okay, you guys, as I said, will have this empty, and I have already here a Centennial folder and 2025 January folder. Uh, You select this folder, but you guys can consider um, like an empty space here. So you guys can go straight to this plus sign and create a folder here. Okay, you can give whatever name you want. You can call this character anim2, which is our class name, or I don't know, joining assignment. It's up to you. Okay, give it a name that you in the future you know what is this folder about. Cool. So I have here character animation 2. My folder is ready, so it's everything is well organized. And then we're going to go back again to this plus sign, and we're going to select animation. So I want to create a save an animation here. Cool. Um, I would change this from perspective view to my camera view. And I'm gonna call this, I'm gonna rename here the perspective one. I'm gonna call it mm, camera. Okay, so I know this is the official camera. So I have it, save it here, and I know this is the, anyway, the official camera that I want to show everything. Cool. So I'm gonna keep going. So back to the studio library. I changed this viewport because when we have the options to save the animation, the first option is a thumbnail that we can generate. And when we generate this, we can just, to generate this, you can just click here on this white empty space, okay? And when we click Studio Library, we'll grab the viewport you have selected here. And in order to select one, you just click in this space here. And then Studio Library, you generate a preview. So we're gonna have a thumbnail with a preview of the animation, of the whole animation. Okay. So, and here we're gonna give it a name. I'm gonna call it parkour dot v003, which is my parkour version. You can see here is my file name. So I know this saved animation is the same as this file. It's just my way to do this. Okay, I can give um, a comment like parkour has polished because I didn't finish this, but anyway. And the frame range, we will start with the original frame range of the animation. So if I go back here, let me change this to perspective. If I go back here and I select the controllers, I use C keys until frame 151. So the first time you see here the frame range, when you start a new animation to be saved, you're gonna see the original frame range, okay? You have an option. Let's say I just want to save until here. So that would be 62. I could change this to 62. So Studio Library would not save everything after. Like all the keys here, Studio Library wouldn't care about. Okay, but I want to save, of course, everything. So 151. This by frame option is when it's set to 1, this is the number of frames. How can I explain that? It's related to the preview. Okay, when it sets to 1, it will save all the frames to the preview. So you're gonna have a real-time animation. I like to leave this as 1, even if it takes some time. I'm gonna click again. So even if it takes some time to generate the preview, I like to do set to 1 so I can see the animation in real time and I don't have to worry too much about it. But let's say you have a really long animation. I don't know, 3,000 frames. Who knows? You can set maybe this to 10. And when you click here, it generates a preview that will only save 1 frame each 10 frames. You know what I mean? So it's going to be 10 times faster. I like to keep this as one. It's up to you guys. Maybe some people just want to see what's inside and don't see the real-time animation. But anyway, I like to see this. Okay, and after that, you don't have to mind about the bay connected. And then you can, oh, I just have one object selected because while explaining everything, I deselect everything. So I'm gonna drag this and select everything again. I'm gonna go to a part where I know it's IK, like I did before. Cool. And I'm gonna hold Shift and Control, drag again, and select everything. Okay. So yeah, now I have everything selected, but still showing one object selected. Not sure why. I'm gonna start all over again, okay? But if, as you guys didn't change anything, so I'm gonna go again to, actually I'm gonna select everything. So everything selected first frame. I go to the IK part, drag, select everything. And then here, the library can just go again to plus animation. Okay, now I have 68 objects selected. Cool. So I'm going to generate my preview. Give it a name. Parkour version 3. Frame range is correct. And then save. Okay. It saves to this center space. And when it's selected, you can see all the properties and options here on the right side. Okay. If you don't read this very well, you can always come to this button here. It's a way to select the size of your windows. Okay, you can change a lot of stuff here. It's up to you how you want to do that. Cool. So let's keep going. So my animation is saved, and I'm going to do the same with the camera. Okay. So I will select the camera now. My camera has an animation, right? I will just, let me change this to the camera, the viewport. So I have the camera selected. I have the viewport as camera. My camera is locked. I will unlock just to make sure everything will work correctly. And then I'm going to go back to the studio library. So I am in the correct folder. I'm going to click on plus. I'm going to save the camera animation. So animation. I'm going to generate that thumbnail. I usually like to show what the camera is seeing when I save a camera animation. And then I'm gonna save this as parkour dot version 3 dot camera. It goes from 1 to 70. So it's correct. By frame 1, no comment. And now you'll save. Cool. So I have my parkour version 3 camera and my parkour version 3. So after I have the rig animation and the camera animation, I save to my library everything I need from the parkour. Cool. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to transfer the parkour to the other file. So I will close this to the library for now. And I will save this file because this is going to be useful. I will save this file as a layout file. And it's good to have a layout file and separate because you guys learn how this is going to be in the future when you work in a studio. On a studio, you're going to have a separate layout file. How this works, I'm going to show you. First, we're going to File, save this scene as layout. So I'm gonna save this as layout version 1. Okay. And what do I need in my layout file? Actually, only the layout itself. So I will select the two groups from my rig and I will just delete it. If it's referenced in yours, I don't think it is because we didn't reference for parkour. You can just go to File, Reference Editor, and we will see it here. So you can select the reference and remove the reference, okay? And my camera is also saved, so I don't need a camera here. So, okay, this is my layout. It's only one plane and two cubes. And you know what? I'm going to create a group for this. Control G, layout, group. Okay, so my layout file is here. I will just save this. And my layout file is done. And let's go to the second part of this, transferring our animation to the other file. So I'm going to go to File, Open Scene, and I'm going to open my takedown. Okay, so this is my takedown scene. Okay, so what I'm going to do first is, of course, save this with a different name. So save scene as, I'm going to call this final animation version 1. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do here is bringing my layout. Okay, so I'm going to go to File, Create Reference. I'm going to that same folder, and here are my files. What I want to bring here is the layout. So I'm going to create a reference, and here it is. Okay, oh, it is in this color because I changed my rig color. Yeah, so I selected the material from this rig, this green left rig, and I changed this color. What I can do if I want, I can select the layout here. I select in the outliner and I can just right click and hold, then assign new material, and select a lumber, and that's it. It just created a lumber 3 and apply it to my layout. Cool. So all good so far. Let's keep going. Next thing we are going to do is check the duration of our parkour. Okay, so in order to do that, a quick way to do that is opening our studio library. You should see the animation saved here in same folder, and we can select the parkour animation. When we select it, we can see the information here, right? And the range is what it matters for us right now. So mine goes from 1 to 151. Cool. So let's put this aside because I just want to check that information. And why do I need this? Because I want to select all the controllers from both rigs. And I think I have, do I have FK here? I don't know, but I want to make sure. So your shift control, hold them, drag again. I hope I have everything selected. Anyway, if I don't have, I can always fix this in the future. So my takedown, it's only this, not finished. But anyway, what I want to do now is I change this to 250 frames. Okay, so what I'm gonna do now is I will select my keys in the time slider. In order to do that, just so you guys know, is I like to go to the first frame you select, click on it, then I hold Shift, and then I click and hold. So I click and drag until after the last frame. Okay, so all the controllers are selected, all the keys are selected. And now I'm going to move all of this to after frame 151. Okay, because if you guys remember, 151 is the range, is when my parkour finished. And I want the parkour to happen before the takedown. So the parkour will come here. And I want to make sure, I want to create a gap between them. And I'm going to give like 20 frames. So I bring this to 171. Okay, so I have the same animation. It's not moving before 171, but then I have the same takedown. Cool? We're good so far? Okay, so next step now is I'm gonna go to frame 1 and I select all controllers from the rig that I want to make the parkour. In my case, I want the green guy to make the parkour. Okay, so let me hide the controllers from the magenta one. So I just selected in the outliner and I pressed H. When you press H, just H, no control, no anything, you can just press H and you're going to hide this. Okay, so I only have the controllers of the green one to select. If you have a button in your shelf, even better. But anyway, I want to make sure that FK is selected, IK selected, so everything is selected. And I'm going to give you the first tip here. One thing that we can do is we go to our studio library. Let me go back to frame 1 so I don't miss it. And what we can do here is select the animation that we're going to transfer, and we can right click here and select content. Okay, but when we press select content here, Studio Library will select whatever will follow whatever I have chosen here in the namespace. Okay, so if I have, let's say from file, I right click here, I select content, oh dear. Anyway, let me try this from selection. Okay, this worked. So, but let me explain the, I'll turn back on the magenta ray controllers. So when I have this from file selected, I will explain it's not working, but I'll explain. And when I right click and select content, it will select all the controllers with the same name and same namespace from whatever is saved here. Okay, in this case, it didn't work because my green rig is referenced. And when a rig is referenced, we have a namespace. Namespace is like a first name that Maya creates when you reference a rig. Okay, so this is not working here, but let's say if I had, because when I saved this, there was no namespace. So it was, this group would only be called model geo. So it's not selecting anything. But anyway, when I have this option from selection, I can select any part, any controller of the rig I want. So the green rig. So I select the hip. So this indicates that this is the selected, the target for my studio library. So you see here from selection, and you can even see here which one is going to be used for the selected content. Sorry, let me show you. So from selection, and this is the namespace. Okay, so when I have a controller of the green selected, and I go here, right click and select content, it selects all the controllers, the same list of controllers that is storage here, but it will select the same controllers here. Okay, so let's say I want to select the same ones from the purple one. I can select any controller of the purple one, the magenta one. I can come here, right click, select content, and oh, sorry, I have to change here from selection. So I select any controller from the purple. I will right click here, select content, and select all the controllers, the same controllers that were saved here. Okay. And this third option is I can just choose what is the namespace that I want everything to be saved, to be selected, sorry. Okay, so I can select this is the green one. So we can come here, right click, select content. It selects the green one, and the 3 would be the magenta one. Okay, so I usually, to make things fast when I'm animating using the Studio Library, I leave this from selection selected all the time. Okay, and when I want to transfer animation, I just select whatever from my green one. I just right click here, select content, and that's it. That's really fast. Okay, so now we are going to transfer the animation. And to apply this animation to the green rig, I will show you how all of these options work. Okay, so I have my parkour animation selected. I'm going to move the window. Let me move this here so it's easier. Anyway, so first thing, I go to frame 1. I want the parkour animation to start on frame 1. Okay. Here is the information about the animation that is saved. So I don't change this. And here are the options for me to apply the animation. So connect, you can leave unchecked as it is. You're probably never going to use this, so you don't have to worry about it. And then you have current time. Current time is very important. And why that? Because the animation saved here goes from 1 to 151. Okay? If current time is unchecked, like it is right now, I can be on any frame. It doesn't matter. My animation will be applied to the green rig from frame 1 to frame 151, just like it's here. Okay? If I check current time, then I have to choose the frame I want the animation to start. So let's say current time is on, checked, and I am on frame 101. So this animation here will be applied instead of frame 1 to 151, it will start on frame 101, and then it goes until what, 251. Okay, so make sure you are in the correct frame. Make sure you have this current time checked or unchecked, depending on what you want, what is your plan. Okay, so you know what's going to happen. So in my case, I want the animation to be applied from frame 1. So I go to frame 1. It doesn't matter if it's checked or unchecked, because if I check, it will still start from frame 1. So I will leave unchecked. and then source. When I have this range, I can still change this. So I have an animation saved here that goes from 1 to 151, but maybe I just want to apply one from 100. So Studio Library will apply the animation from 1 to 100, and whatever animation I have saved to from 100 to 151, it's not going to apply. Okay, I'm going to set this back to 151 because that's what I want, and the full animation, and let's keep going. So this is also very important. Okay, so we have four options here, and this merge option, um, I can say you don't want to use it. It's like, let's say you have animation and from frame 1 to 151. This merge option, it would transfer the animation from Studio Library over the animation we have. And it will probably be a mess because it will mix a lot of keys. And I don't know, we don't have too much control about it. So I don't like this option. I never use it. Okay? But let's keep going. Let's say we have an animation from frame 1 to frame 200. If I select this option, insert, and I am on frame 1, when this animation is applied, is transferred, Studio Library will push all the original animation I have here to after frame 151. So whatever I have here, it will be pushed forward to 151. And then it will apply the animation here in the same space. So whatever keys you have in the same frame range, Studio Library will push this animation and will insert the transfer animation before. Okay? I sometimes use this, but this is not very common. What I usually use, definitely most of the time, I use the two first option, replace and replace all. So I think I have more control doing this way, using replace or replace all. Replace means that if I have animation originally from 1 to 200, and I go to frame 1 and apply this animation versus the library, it will replace everything from 1 to 151. So whatever exists from 152 to 200 will still be there. And I will have the new animation here. Okay? And replace all is pretty straightforward. It applies the new animation from Studio Library and will remove whatever you had before that. So it will completely replace. It doesn't matter the frame range, it will remove everything and apply what's here. Okay? So for better control, and this is kind of personal, but of course I have experience, I like to move if I have an animation in a rig and I want to keep it like I'm doing here, I want to keep the animation for the takedown on this green rig and the magenta rig. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move the keys like we did to the exact place I want them. In this case, from 171 to and on. Anyway, so I want to keep this and I want this here. So I move to the exact place I want. And then I go to animation to be transferred. I select replace, and then I will apply from frame 1. Okay, actually, it's not replacing anything because this is empty. But anyway, this is a way to make sure that the animation will be transferred to here, and this will not move anywhere. Okay, so just let's just go and apply it. So what happens now is after my animation was applied, I have the parkour at the beginning. So it starts running, starts doing whatever it has to do its thing, and then that's the cool part. So after frame 151, which is my last parkour keyframe, it does a crazy thing. So it's the ground. This is because of the ground control. Ground controller is moving, it's rotating, it stops weirdly one frame before takedown, and then it travels on takedown. So it's crazy. The takedown animation is correct, but whatever Maya is doing between the two animations, this is really, really crazy. Okay? You don't have to worry about this now. Now we have to worry about doing the parkour correctly, and then we're gonna fix this. Okay? Don't worry about this right now. So what I'm seeing here is one of the arms is crazy. And why that? In my case is, I don't know if this is the same as you guys, but in my case, it's because of a name here of this controller. Okay? And I show you guys in case you have the same problem. So I select this controller. I go to the outliner, don't click anything. I just hit F. I just hover over the outliner. I just hit F in my keyboard. F is Fernando. And then I find here and see the name of, this is the name of the controller. What happened is my rig, and actually this, I told you guys in the class, this is a problem with this rig. It happened to me. I never had this before with any other rig. This is the first time it happens. But anyway, I'm going to show you how to fix this. Okay, this is the name we have for this controller. And the problem is because there's a different name on the original rig. And so there was a problem with the transfers. Okay, so I'm gonna hit ask to go out. I'm gonna save this and I'm gonna open again my parkour because I'm gonna save this controller only. I'm gonna rename this controller and I'm gonna fix this. Okay, so it's this controller here. When I go to my outliner in the parkour, if I have this selected and I hit F here, the name is weird. It's the same name, but it has this underscores after. So I'm gonna go, I'm gonna fix this. I'm gonna remove the underscores, hit enter, and yeah, I'm gonna save this. So I want this to work from now on, but I will have to open the studio library again, and I will have to save only this controller. Okay, so I'm going to go to plus, I'm going to go to animation, I'm going to click the thumbnail, I'm going to call it Parkour version 3, and then IK on fix 1, because oh no, maybe there's a new one. And I keep everything as it is. It's just one object selected, okay? And then I use save, okay? And that's it. So let's make this a little bit bigger. Cool. So yeah, put this aside. I will save this and I will open again my final animation. And I hope this works. So in my final animation, I will select again any controller of the green rig. I'm going to my studio library Here it is, the IK arm fix one. I will right click, I will select content. It will select the correct controller because from selection is on here. So the IK controller is selected. And then, and you can actually see that the controller is selected and there's no animation from 0 to 151. So it didn't save anything from the original. So I'm gonna hit current time isn't checked, so it doesn't matter what frame I am. It will replace, so it will keep those frames from the takedown, and everything is correct. I will apply. Let's see what happens. Okay, all good. Everything looks correct. Cool. So just so you guys know, this was a problem. This is a problem that may happen with you. What I mean is um, having to rename a controller. And if you have to, this will probably be the only controller you have to do that. But keep in mind that you can do this to any problem you have. Let's say when you transfer your parkour and you scrub your time slider here, like I'm doing, let's say something goes really weird, a head or a spine or whatever. Anyway, what you have to do is, oh, okay, here I have another, you see? So this controller is going crazy. So yeah, it's happening to me again. So, okay, I will double check. This controller has no animation here. So it's probably wrong. I will double check here, just checking the name. I don't think the name will be a problem this time. But anyway, I'm going to save this because I want to keep what I did. I'm going to open the parkour again. What I was saying is you can have problems with any controller. And this just happened to me. Okay, so you're gonna detect, you're gonna identify which controller is having problem. In my case, is the IK controller for the wrist, which is this controller. You're gonna check in your outliner, pressing F, that there's no problem with the name. In my case, there's absolutely no problem. And then you can just save the problematic controller to your library. Okay, so I am still in the correct folder, plus animation. I'm gonna generate a thumbnail, and I'm gonna call this Parkour version 3 IKR fix 2. I knew I could use this. You see the frame range is different because it's a frame range on for this controller. It can happen. And yeah, let's save this. After that, let me go back to my final animation. I save those changes. And okay, back to my final animation where the hand is weird. I will select the Parkour IK arm fix 2. I will just check here. So I don't want current time. I want to be applied to correct frame range. It will replace, which means it will not change anything after. Um, oh, of course, frame selection is here. I will select any controller. Let me change this. So I selected any controller of a rig. I will select IK arm fix 2 from selection. right click, select content. So it selected my wrist. Okay. Um, 39 to 65, replace. So it's not replace all, it will keep this. And yeah, let's apply. Okay, cool. So it applied the correct animation. And I think now everything's correct. Yeah, so my parkour is good to go. Cool. So now we're going to start the third part, which is fixing this crazy stuff here to connect both animation. Okay. Oh, before that, let's just transfer our camera animation. Okay, so for that, I will create a camera. So top menu, create cameras, camera. I have to give the same name. The other one name was camera. So I remove this one. Um, I'm gonna go back to the studio library, right folder. Where is the camera? Here is the camera. So I can right click, select content. In this case, it doesn't matter from file or from selection because the camera was already selected and they have the same name. And then let me check. Current time is unchecked. That's correct. 1 to 70. It could be either replace or replace all because there's no animation in this new camera. And then I will apply. Okay, so now I have a camera with the animation for the parkour. It's the same animation that we had before, and you can see the camera moving. Okay, so let's start fixing this mass here with the ground control. Cool. So, okay, what we want here, just so you guys know, is this part of this mass. This mass is happening because of two things. First, we need the ground controls to make sense. So in the parkour, the ground control is moving during the run cycle, then it stops and it doesn't move anymore until the end of the parkour. And I have to know what is the last frame of the parkour. In my case, the last frame is frame 151, and I will keep this in mind. Okay. Uh, then the ground control is moving freely. I mean, Maya created this move and rotate animation because it goes from, I selected, you'll be clear. Okay, so last frame from parkour is 151. First frame from take down is 171. So the ground controller is doing the right thing for the parkour parts and doing the right thing for the takedown part. But of course, Maya create the animation between the two of them. Okay, so we need to fix this. We need to adjust this. And we want our guys to be close at the end of the parkour. So we can make animation hooking up the two parts. And ground controllers, we move them during the walk and the run cycle. But we don't like, other than cycles, we don't like to keep them moving like this. Otherwise, it's going to go crazy, especially if you rotate them. So we want to change the ground control position the same way we do with the IK and FK controller. So we want to have the ground control in one position, the correct position at 151, and then we're going to change to the desired position in 152. So we want to make this change in just one frame. And how do we do that? Okay, let's go slow and step by step. The first thing I'm going to do is to organize a little bit of the two ground controllers. Okay, so I selected both of them. So select the from the green one and shift select from the purple one. And then I'm gonna go to the first frame of my takedown. Okay. I know they don't move. So I have all of those keys, but they don't really matter because nothing changed after frame 171. So I'm gonna just clean this to make things more organized. Okay, you see, I have the same animation here because those keys are keeping the same position and rotation. After that, I'm gonna go to the green guy ground controller. For this guy, I have the position, I have the moving for the run cycle. It keeps moving, and from 37 on, it it keeps the position, sorry. It keeps the same position until the end, and the end is 151. Okay? I don't know if you have a key here, but if you don't, hit S so you have a key here. We want to have a key in the last frame for the from the parkour part. Okay, so let's keep going. Um, and here we're gonna make her change. So in 151, I want, of course, to keep as it is, since 151 is still the parkour part, is the last frame of the parkour part. But in 152, one frame after, I want to change this position. So I want it to go to the correct place. Okay, so I will keep in mind that 151 is my last parkour frame and 171 is my first takedown frame. Okay, so I'm gonna go to 171. I have the ground controller for the green guy selected, only this controller selected, and I will copy what I have here. And after the last frame of the parkour, so the next frame, 152, I want to paste that. Okay, so just one thing. This is a fix that takes several steps. And every preparation step, I mean, all the steps before the last one will create more or a different mess. Okay, so don't worry about like the parkour is working here for me, and then suddenly it moves. You see that? And then it goes crazy again here. So it goes crazy all the time. You don't have to worry about this. Okay, so let's keep going. Let me just do one thing. I think this will help to um, visualize what I'm looking for. Okay, graph editor. So let me bring this here. So I selected all controllers from my rig, and the end of my parkour is still stepped. You see? So you change this to auto. Is this a step? I guess it is. Anyway, I will change to auto. So it will look like more like yours. So I have the parkour. Let's keep going. Yeah, standing up, back loop, and standing up. And yeah, standing up, go crazy, and then go crazy again. Okay. Um, for each of you guys, this craziness between the parkour and the takedown will happen differently. What I mean is sometimes the takedown part happens inside a building or intersecting walls or whatever. Don't worry about this, okay? I know some of you, when you first reference the layout, you bring it here, maybe the layout will go over our rigs. Don't worry about that, okay? Just keep following what I'm doing, and we're gonna fix all of that. Cool. So, okay. So 151 is the last frame on my parkour. 152 is one frame after, and 171 is the first frame of my takedown. Okay. So what I'm gonna do now is I have to move the two ground controllers in order to make the takedown action happen close to the end of the parkour action. Okay, let's go again. So the green rig will do the parkour and will finish the action around here, correct? So he's finishing here. Okay, so if the parkour finishes here and the takedown is happening around here, and I want to move this, but I want to make sure this is close, I have to take some action, and I show you why. Um, if you have the two rigs kind of close, like mine are, you can just go to your blue pencil. In my case, it's called grease pencil because it's an old version of Maya. It's 2022. Anyway, so you can just go to the parkour rig in the last frame of the parkour and create a mark. So we know where the rig will end. Okay, I'm in a perspective view. I'm creating this, and then I'm not gonna change the camera after that. Okay, if your rigs are far from each other, or if you prefer, you can just create a cube or a sphere or whatever, because this is gonna be a reference, and that's it. And you can move it to close to your rig. And why that? Let me show you. We need to go to the next frame to move the ground controllers. So this is the ground controller of the green one, and this is the ground controller of the magenta one. And first, we want to keep them at the same distance. So I select the one, and then I use shift select the other one. So I move, both of them move. Okay? And when I change from my last parkour frame to the next frame to make the ground adjustment, the parkour guide will go crazy. It will leave the position it was. That's why we created this reference. Okay, so again, last parkour frame, it makes all the parkour finish here. And on the next frame, because remember, we want the ground controllers to move from one frame to another. On the next frame, then we will move this. Okay, and I want them to be close like this. And when I move this, I imagine my green guy will be here in this frame. Like in the frame before, it is here because the end of the parkour is here. But in this frame, after the fixes, he will be here and we'll start my takedown animation. Actually, the takedown animation will start in 171. But anyway, this is where I want my ground control to be. So the ground control, I will now just remove the grease pencil and I will use this cube as a reference. So I can do this, I can do this. But anyway, just so you know, so I want the parkour to finish, frame 151, and on the next frame, I want the ground control to be in the right place for the takedown. Okay, so in 151, ground control is correct, is the finish of the parkour. 152, both ground controls are correct for the takedown. Okay, and now that they are correct here in frame 152, we can select both of them and hit S to make sure there is a key here. okay? And we can remove this key. We don't need this key anymore because from here on, and you see it's moving back to the original takedown place, and we don't need this. So I can just delete it. So from here on, the parkour, the takedown will happen where it should. Okay. Um, some of you need not only to move the ground control, but to rotate them. My parkour is finishing where the green guy comes from above, lands, and it's ready for the takedown. But some of you have a different position and you want to fix not only the location of the ground controllers, but also the rotation. In order to do that, we have to do a special rotation. Okay, so I'm going to change the rotation on mine, and I want you guys to follow doing the same. Otherwise, we can mess up with the ground controllers. Cool. So this spatial rotation is actually a small change of the rotation uh, settings. So you're going to double click the rotate button here. It will open um, options like this. Okay, and after it opens, you gotta be in the correct frame, which is one frame before the parkour. This is the end of parkour, one frame before, so it's the frame where we are adjusting the ground controllers. And then you're gonna change the rotate center to selection, and you're gonna check modify translation. Doing that, you will see that the center of the rotation can go a bit crazy. So you see the manipulator here. It's not in the center between the two ground controllers. It goes there. It's kind of annoying, but what can we do? It is what it is. And after that, I would just rotate as I want. Having in mind two things. First, how I want the action to happen. I rotate that way, because if I rotate it this way, the green guy in the running cycle part will hit the magenta guy, so I will rotate the other way. Okay, so first you have to have in mind whatever is happening, so you don't fix the rotation but screw up with different things. And second, you have to keep in mind the reference here. So I will rotate like this. I don't want to rotate anymore. And then I will hit W to move to translate, and I will move back to using my reference, using the cube here. Okay, so it's finished here. I can even go one frame before if I want. So I want it to finish here, and then in the next frame, I want it to be here, maybe a little bit forward. Cool. So rotation and translation are fixed. Parkour is there, correct. And at least the ground controllers are working as they should. Cool. After that, I will back to my rotation. I will select the rotation here, and I want to make sure that modify translation is selected. And here I change back from selection to default. Okay, so yeah, so rotation 2 is back to its normal. So okay, so we've fixed the ground controllers. The ground controllers are there, and they're gonna work as this. Cool, we're not changing anymore. So now we keep going. And now we finally go to final step of our transfer. Okay, we will still have things to adjust, but we're gonna do this final adjustment from last parkour frame to first transition frame, and then to first takedown frame. Okay, so to do this, actually, the practical side of doing this is really, really easy and fast. But I want to explain to you guys how I do this so you have in mind how things work here. Okay? So, um, in order to do this step, you guys have to know the locator. So, what locator is? So, I'm going to go to top menu, create, and then you create a locator, which name is here locator one. A locator, you probably know, but if you don't, there's no problem, is an element that is not rendered. It's just a support. It's just a reference in space of a position and a rotation. Okay, so I left this on so I can select a rotator in my viewport. And I moved my, sorry, locator. And I moved my locator closer to the rig. For this operation that I'm going to do, it doesn't matter where the locator is exactly. Just bring it close to the rig so it's easier for us to use it, but it doesn't matter where exactly it is. Just don't bring him like you know, in a part that is intersecting something like inside the rig somehow, because this can be messy. So let me undo this. Just leave it closed where it's easy to use, and that's it. Okay. And what we're gonna do now? So the idea is in frame 151, our rig is finishing the parkour. But in frame 152, it's traveling crazy to other place, right? This is because in 151, our ground control here and the rig is on a certain distance from the ground control. And there is a certain rotation as well, like for this direction. And when we go to 152, the rig is actually keeping the distance and the rotation relative to the ground control. But the ground control moved. So ground control moved to here and it rotated as well. So this distance was kept and the rotation was changed, and that's why the rig came here. That's crazy. Okay, so and from here it's not moving anymore. But anyway, so now we have to fix the rig because we're gonna keep the ground control here in this frame and then here in this frame. And how do we fix this rig doing this? It's kind of easy. Actually, it's super easy. We're going to, in frame 151, we're going to hold the rig here, lock it here. And then in 152, it will still be locked here. So the ground control will move, but the rig will not be able to move. And how do we do that? Let me show you. It's very simple. Don't we have the locator here? And from frame 151 to frame 152, our locator is not going anywhere, right? So we're going to select the locator. We're going to shift select the hip. So parent, locator, child, hip, and then we go to constraint and we open the parent window. And I want to maintain offset, so I want to maintain locator here and the hip here. I want to check translate and rotate all in all, and I will apply. Nothing will change. We are still in the last frame of the parkour. Locator and hip now are parent and child. So if I move the locator up or if I move the locator down, hip will follow. But of course, I don't want to do this. I want to keep my pose. I was just checking. So now I will select the locator again, and then I will shift select the foot because it's IK and foot can move anywhere as IK, right? So I select locator, shift select the foot, and then I apply again. nothing changed, of course. But if I move the locator, now hip and foot, blue foot, are moving according to the locator, right? And then you again select the locator, shift select the feet, the red foot, and then apply again. And when I select the locator, now everything is moving together. Cool. Now you want to do this to go back. If you have IK hand, one or both, you just select the locator, select the wrist controller, and hit apply again. I'm not doing that because this is FK, but if you have IK, you select, shift select, and then apply again. Okay? And then you do again for the other hand if you need to. What I'm doing here, is I'm locking the hip and the IK controllers to the locator in the last frame of the parkour. And then that may, if I do this kind of, you see, I'm scrubbing during the parkour animation, and the poor guy, he cannot do anything because his feet and his hip are constrained to the locator, and the locator is not moving, right? So if this happens during the parkour, what happens if I go to the last frame of the parkour to the next frame? Exactly. The hip and the feet will keep where they are. Okay? And what I'm going to do is now I have them where I want. So I will select the hip. I'm in the next frame, one frame after the end of the parkour, and I will hit S. I select the foot. You can actually select the three of them. Hip, foot, foot, your hands if you need, but anywhere. I'm on the next frame after the last one of the parkour, and I just hit S to create the keys. When I create keys here, remember that in this frame, the rig was going whatever to a far place. Now it's locked here because of the locator, the constraint of the locator. When I hit S here and I create a key for the feet and the hip, I will fool Maya and I will create a key for these controllers here in this frame. So right now there's two locked locator. So I can go, I can scrub, it doesn't matter, the parkour, the takedown, they are still there. And what am I gonna do now? I'm gonna do this more, how do they say that, the simplest thing ever. I will select the locator and I just delete it. Yeah, so as I don't have a locator, the controllers are not constrained anymore, but they kept their position. So in 151, they are in the original position, the last frame of the parkour, and in 152, they are kind of the same position because I created keys for them. Remember? I created keys and I removed the constraint, or when I deleted the locator, they just stay there. As simple as this. Cool, right? Okay, so end of the parkour, frame 151. Next frame, 152. Things are crazy. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, you still have to adjust and fix a lot of stuff because now we only fixed the, how's it called? We only fixed the IK controllers and the FK controllers. Okay, so they are going crazy. They had any arms, so we need to adjust that. It's not perfect, but anyway, at least the feet and the hip are in the right position. Okay, but it's not perfect. And what I mean by that is this is the first frame of the transition. First frame after the last parkour frame. From this frame, 152, to the first frame of the takedown, which was maintained correct. Some crazy things may happen. Let's see what happened to mine. Yeah, it's dancing a little bit, but not so bad, right? Yeah. And how do we fix this? Well, some of you guys may have crazy stuff happen. Probably stuff like, let me show you. Probably stuff like this. It's very common to happen. So parkour, last frame, all good. Next frame, huh, not bad, but when you do this, some crazy stuff may happen. Okay? Just like I'm doing on mine. If crazy stuff like this happen, actually for all of you, we're gonna run a filter to fix this. Okay? So we will select, let me remove this cube from here. I don't need it anymore. So we're going to select all the controllers for the parkour guy. Okay, we're gonna open our graph editor. Mine is already open here. I'm gonna hit F. So I see all the curves. And then we're gonna do this. Top menu from graph editor, curves, Euler filter. This filter will remove all crazy rotations. Okay. Not gonna lie, sometimes some craziness still happens. Okay, but it usually works. Okay, so there it is. This is our transferring animation. There's still some work to do, but this our start point to join both of them. Okay, from now on, what are we gonna do? So we have the pose in 151. We have a crazy pose in 152. So we want to fix this crazy pose. In order to do that, I select all the rig. I first create a key for all of them in 152 because I don't want to mess around. And then I fix this. In order to fix this head, fix the arms, I will start by zeroing out. In this case, I can do, and it's easier, right? And then I will adjust um, to make it similar. Okay, I'm not going into details. I'm going to consider they are very similar, so we can keep going and show to you guys what you need to do for the next part. Let me pause this and do some adjustments and I'll be right back. Okay, so I fixed my pose in 152. Okay, as good as I can. And I see now that when it goes to, when I see the transition, the head is going crazy. And the blue arm is changing from FK to IK. Okay, so we'll fix this quickly. So the craziness of the head, it's kind of easy. I go back to my graph editor. I run curves Euler filter again. There we go. Not crazy anymore. For the arm, I have to do the same thing that we learned in the beginning. If I see the graph editor again, the FK to IK is changing not in one frame, but in a lot of frames. So I have to fix this, okay? And I'll fix this by changing in 171. I have 1 here, so it's IK. I'm going to go to 170, and I'm going to change from this broken number to 0. So now I have FK all the time, and then change to IK in one frame, okay? And what I'm going to do now is making an adjustment. I'm going to do really quick because I don't want to waste some time. I want you guys to use this time working, but just so you know, I'm creating an animation to blend the two of them together. So I want to make a transition. I will make it really simple. I think you guys should make really simple as well. I don't want like a long story. I just want you guys to understand. You're gonna work more in animation in the future. So I want you guys to make something simple for now, just to make it work. Unfortunately, um, we didn't have um, as much time as I think we should. But anyway, let me keep going here a little bit more. It's moving kind of crazy. Okay, I'm gonna just do something here really quick. Be right back. Okay, so I did a really 10-minute fast animation to connect my parkour and my takedown. This animation is really rough. I mean, my parkour wasn't finished. My takedown was just blocking, and I did again a still rough animation to connect what's happening in one to what's happening in the other. But the most important and what I want to see from you guys is exactly how you manage this. I mean, I know you guys can animate, I know you guys can do a nice timing, do nice poses. I just want to see if you guys learned how to use this 2D library, if you guys managed how to move the ground controller in just one frame, how to change the rig using the locator, and how to do a well connection, smooth change from one animation to another. And the animation in between, I mean, if you have time, of course, you can do your best. So you can do details, you can do the polishing. Of course, you can always work on this in the future. You can keep working on this if you want. Who knows, maybe a piece for your demo reel in the future. But anyway, I am more interested is that you guys learn how to do the connections, learn how to do a good use of the studio library. Okay, so don't worry too much about the takedown connection to the parkour in a way that animation is really full of details and poses and overlaps and all of that. Just make the transition make sense like I did. Like the magenta guy was distracted, and then the green guy came from behind, and yeah, it doesn't have to be complicated, very simple. Just do something that makes sense and make the connections work good. Okay? If you have questions, please email me. I will be Monday on the live monitoring, and I'll be available through email. Um, if you need more time, of course, we can talk about. But again, don't go crazy on details. Focus on what matters. And yeah, bring whatever you can on next class on Thursday, and I can take a look at there. Okay? So thank you guys, and I think that's it. If I forgot something by any chance, I will try and update this or send a new video to YouTube so you guys know what to do. Thank you again so much, and see you.